Today I am solving a problem that is maximum consecutive ones. So we are having a problem statement given a binary array nums and we have to return the maximum number of consecutive ones which are present in this array. So binary array nums is there. It means the nums array is containing the elements zeros and ones and we have to return the maximum number of consecutive ones present in this array. It means the longest streak of ones which is possible in this array, that number we have to return. So to have the more clarity on this, let's get into the example one. The example one is having the nums array this, and it is having some elements 110 111. So here we can see that here two consecutive ones are present and here three consecutive ones are present. So the maximum number of consecutive ones present in this array are 3. So the output will be 3 in this case. Second example is saying that this is the array, and in this we can clearly see that the two consecutive ones are present, which is the maximum number in this array. Okay, so these are the two consecutive ones present here, which is maximum. So that this will be the output in this example 2. Some of the constraints are given that the array length can be from 1 to 10 power 5, that is maximum, and then the number of this particular values will be either zeros and ones, that we already know. Now before getting to the code of this, firstly let me explain how we can solve this particular problem with the simplest approach and then optimize it further. So this is the example which I have taken from the problem statement, which is the array size is 6 here and the elements are 110 111. So here as we can see that we have to find the consecutive ones. So here we are able to see that these are the consecutive ones present here, and this is the part where the consecutive ones are present. So these are the two consecutive ones and then these are the three consecutive ones. So the maximum consecutive ones present are 3. So that will be our output. Now what we have to do here is this number only we have to find, that what are the number of consecutive ones which are maximum present, the longest streak of ones possible in a particular input array. So we can have any particular input array and in which we will have to find this. Now what we will have to do, the simplest approach or the naive approach which we can follow to solve this particular problem is, let's talk about the solution one. So solution one here is that what we can do, we are having this particular array. So let me take this particular example from here. So this is the array we are having, and the first approach, see, firstly as we already know that we have to find the consecutive ones which are the maximum, which is the maximum number possible. So here we can see that whatever the consecutive ones are present, they are starting from a particular index and ending at an index, as in this case. And if we see this second part, so here again these consecutive ones are starting from a particular index and ending at an index. So what we can do here is that we can make a particular approach where we can start from an index, and whenever we are at a ending at a particular index, then we can have that number of consecutive ones. And also at the end of this entire approach and at the end of this entire process, we can maintain a particular counter which will update, which will be having the updated value for the maximum number of consecutive ones. So let's say I am having the two counters, count 1, that is I have initialized as of now to 0, and second counter I will be maintaining, that is let's say max count 1, let's say, for the number of ones. So initially I will also be initializing it with 0. So here this count 1 variable which I have initialized to 0, it will be used in order to count the number of ones for the ongoing streak. It will be used to count the number of ones, to count the number of ones for ongoing streak, It means if we talk about this particular these two consecutive ones, so it will firstly count this one, then it will count second one. So this is the ongoing streak, and when this particular 0 will be encountered, then this streak will be ended. So this is the streak which will be maintained by a variable, and that particular variable is max count. So it will be used in order to keep track of the track of maximum ones encountered so far. So this is the max count one variable which is maintaining the particular track, we can say that whatever the maximum consecutive ones, or we can say the consecutive ones which we have encountered so far, that is maintained inside this max count one variable, that is used in order to keep the track of maximum ones, uh, maximum consecutive ones, we can say. Let me write here maximum consecutive ones. Okay, so this is the particular purpose of this two variables. So now let me walk you through the process that how this particular solution is going to work. So firstly, let me take the two variables, this count one, as I have mentioned here, count one. Firstly, I will initialize it to 0, and second variable I will maintain for the max count. So max count one, I will initialize it to 0. Now what I will do is, see, what I am going to do is, I will be going at every index, and I will start going ahead of that particular index in order to count the consecutive ones. And I will from that particular index I will count the consecutive ones till the point where I am not encountering the 0. So at the point where I will encounter a 0, then and there I will stop, because the streak for these consecutive ones will be ended where the 0 is found. And at the point where 0 is found, then I will just stop there and will start from the newer index, and then again I will start counting the consecutive ones from there. Then again, when the 0 is encountered, I will again stop there. So this is the process which is going on, and at the end I will be having whatever the number of maximum consecutive ones are present, that will be stored inside this max count, because this will be updated automatically. And that we will understand more when we will be explaining the code, writing the code for it. So as of now, I am currently at the index 0, and now starting from this index 0 using this j, I will start checking for the ones, and what for the consecutive ones. So let's say here I have checked this is the one. So now what I will do, I will increment this counter to 1. Now again j will move ahead, it will see another one. So see, before j moves ahead, it will also update this particular max count, what the maximum value is there out of count 1 and max count 1. So here 1 is the maximum, so 1 will be updated. Now j will move ahead, it will again see 1. So as it will again see 1, so again this count 1 will be incremented to 1 more, that it will become 2, and the maximum value out of these is 2. It will be updated in max count 1. See, this is automatically updating. Now when this j moves ahead, it sees a 0. So here comes the stop, that whenever it will see a 0, then this particular loop will get ended. Whatever the loop for the inner loop is running, that particular loop will get ended, because the streak for the consecutive ones is ended here for the 0th index. Because as we have started from the 0th index, so the streak got ended here. Only 2 consecutive ones as of now we have came. So here the loop will be broken, loop will break here. So this now loop will get ended now. And as of now, and also what will happen is that this count 1 will have to be reset for every index. Whenever we are as we have seen for this particular index, and consecutive ones we have checked, and whenever the 0 is coming, we are stopping the loop, and then we are going to the next index. So in that case, whenever we are going to the next index, we will also have to reset this count 1 value to 0, because it might be the case that whatever the value we are maintaining for the count 1 for a particular index for consecutive ones, it might happen that with the value which we are if we do not reset that to 0, then it will impact in the next pass, because that particular value will, the next pass will use this count 1 itself in order to increment from that old value. And that we will see more, that we will see ahead in this whole process which I am explaining. Now this count 1 is set to 0. Now I will move ahead here, I is moving ahead, then j will again start checking from here. So now j checked it as 1, so this count 1 will be incremented to 1 now. Then j will be moved ahead, when j moves ahead, it will see a 0. So again this loop will again be broken, because this is the position where the streak got ended for this ones. So again this particular loop will get ended, and we will go to the next index. And before that, okay, so when this loop is broken here, this loop is broken, and this I is going to the next index, and after that going to the next index, this have to be reset to 0 in order to count the new streak for the ones. Now starting again from here, so again now j is checking that here is 0, so obviously no any 1 is encountered, so it is again this particular loop will not run. because it has encountered a 0, so the loop will just break here. Then I will move to the next index to check for the new streak. Now J will start checking from here. And here J will check that here 1 is encountered. So for 1 is encountered, this count 1 will be incremented to 1. Now J will move ahead. Also the simultaneously this maximum value will be updated here. As of now 2 is the maximum, so no updation will take place. Now J will check another one, so here count 1 will be incremented to 1 more, it becomes 2 now. Then J will move ahead. Now it will again see a 1, so it will again increment this count 1 to 1 more, that will become 3. And now here we can see that the maximum value is 3 out of here. So the value for max count will become 3. And then this J will move ahead, so here the loop gets ended. Now here is the thing coming, here is the particular fact comes, that what I'm explaining here, that why we have to reset the count 1 to 0. Now see, if we are not resetting this count to 0, then what will happen? Because the loop is not, and see, we are for this particular index we have found that the consecutive ones are 3, so that is already updated inside the max count 1. Now when this particular loop will when this particular index will go ahead to check for the another streak of ones, now if we are not resetting this particular value to 0, then in that what will happen in that case? When this J will come here and it will again start checking for the consecutive one, so it will check 1 here. So what it will do, it will increment this count 1, and that count 1 will now become 4, and because of which this max count will also become 4 because of the maximum value. Then this J will move ahead and it will again increment this count 1, and it will become 5. So in that case this will also become 5. And likewise when this particular loop gets ended, this I index will move ahead and also check for this, and J will check for this. So again the value for this incremented, and it is getting now 6 here, and because of which for the maximum value, this max count value also gets updated to 6. So this is the problem coming if we are not resetting the count 1 value to 0 for the next index. So as this I was here, and this I was here, and then this I will be moving ahead. So in order to do that, initially this max count value, let me take this again 3, as it was initial, and it was also 3. So when this I is moving ahead, after that we will have to make this index as 0 in order to have the another new streak, in order to count the maximum consecutive ones for the newer streak from the new index. So this is the reason that why we are resetting this count 1 to 0 again and again, in order to have the fresh start for the new streak. This is the reason. Now let's get to the code part of this. So this is the editor. Now let me write the code here. Firstly I will take the size of this nums inside this n, and after this what we will do, I will keep a max counter for this. I will keep a max counter for the number of ones in order to have the longest streak, in order to just keep the track of the maximum consecutive ones encountered so far. And now I will start for having the indexes and type equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. And now whenever I am at a particular index, I will start from that index and go till the end of the array. It's like for int j equal to I, j less than n, and j plus plus. So now what I will be doing is, I told that whenever we are going inside for a particular index to find the consecutive ones, number of consecutive ones, there I will there I will reset this particular counter to 0. And now here I will check that if this nums of j is equal to 1. So if I found a particular element as 1, then I will increment this count 1, and also side by side parallelly I will also, what I will be doing, I will be updating this max count 1 with the maximum value of what, the count 1 comma max count 1. Whatever the maximum value will be there, it will be updated inside this. And just in case if this particular value is not 1, if it is equal to 0, then in that case I will simply break from here, because I have encountered a 0 and the streak got ended. And also whatever the streak for that till now we have encountered so far, that is updated inside the max count 1, so we need not to worry about that. And simply if the 0 is coming, we will simply break from there, and we will go inside the next index, for the next index to have the newer streak, and again resetting this particular counter value to 0. And when this whole process will be done, we will simply return from here this max count 1. So whatever the value is present in the max count 1 at the end, that will be the maximum number of consecutive ones present in this array. So let me take the size here. Firstly, 6 is the size and elements are 1 1 0 1 1 1, and let me run this. Okay, so the maximum consecutive ones present in this particular nums array are 3. So this is the code for this approach, and let's just take the time complexity, see the time complexity of this code. So we can see here that time complexity is this particular outer loop is running for 0 to n, so it is running for n times, and then for inside this the inner loop is running from I to n. So just have a simple explanation on this. So let's talk about the time complexity of this particular code. So time complexity, we see here that for this outer loop is running from 0 to n, means for n iterations, and the inner loop is running for I to n. So we can see here, okay, we can see here that for I equal to 0, we can see that this inner loop is running for how many times? For if we see I equal to 0, the inner loop is running from I to n. So let's talk about the worst case, that how means we already know that the outer loop is running for n iterations. This outer loop is running for n iterations, and inner loop is running for it's like for n minus I times. So for the worst case, if we talk, what can be the worst case? The worst case can be that this whole array is containing all the elements which are ones. So let's say this particular whole array is containing the number of ones. Then in that case, what will happen, that this inner loop will run for the maximum possible distance. Like if a particular I value is, we are at a particular index, then if these all elements are ones, then j will continue to run for the last till the last index. Then for I equal to 1, n will this j will continue to last index. So this is how it will be taking place. Now for I equal to 0, this loop will run for n times. Then if we see about j this I equal to 1, this loop will run for n minus 1 times. Then for I equal to 2, this loop will run for n minus 2 times. And this is how, if we see, then this for I equal to n minus 1, for how many times this loop will run? If I is equal to n minus 1, so j will run for only one time only. So this is how, if we see the summation of all these, if we take the summation of all these, so it's like n plus n minus 1, and then n minus 2. This is how it is going till 1. So if we see the summation of from 1 to n, it is like n into n plus 1 by 2. So this is the simple some explanation, and also this is n into n plus 1 by 2 basically. So this is, if we say time complexity, so it is like big O of n square, we can say. So the time complexity of this code is big O of n square, because for every 0 it is running from I to n. So like for the worst case, if we see, then it will run for basically n minus I times. So that's the time complexity for this code. And yes, space complexity is constant only, not using any extra space. Now if we see this particular approach, so it is taking big O of n square time. Now this is not that efficient approach we can think of. So this is the basically efficient not that efficient approach. So let's get into the solution 1, solution 2, and in the solution 2, let's get some better approach, like where the time complexity can be reduced somewhat, like maybe we can solve with the big O of n time complexity. So let's take this same example again, the same array. So this is the array I am having, and now in this array, what we can do is, in the first approach, what we are doing is that we are going with every particular index, and we are seeing for the consecutive ones ahead of that array, or ahead of that index. And because of which we are using the two loops, that is the nested loops, and because of which that big O of n square time complexity is coming. What we can do is, we can simply traverse in this array maybe for the only for the one pass. And similarly, what we are doing was, we will have to keep the counters for these number of ones. So for the ones, in order to have the track of the consecutive ones for the ongoing streak, and max count variable in order to keep the track of the longest streak I have encountered so far. That's the two same variables which I have used in the previous approach. And now instead of running the two loops, I will run only one loop in order to traverse this entire array. And every time when I will encounter a 1, I will increment this count 1 to 1. And then if I encounter a particular 0, then in that case, obviously I know that now I have encountered a 0. So whatever the consecutive ones I have been counting, that particular streak has been ended. So because of which I will have to reset this count 1 to 0 in order to have a newer streak for the number of ones whenever I will encounter a new one. And same, whatever the work of this max count 1 was there in the first approach, it is same in this approach itself also, that whatever the consecutive ones we are encountering, what we are finding for the maximum times, that will be maintained inside this particular variable, that longest streak. So let me walk you through this also. This I is currently at this index, so it will see a 1, so it will increment this count 1, and whatever the maximum value is, it will update it in max count. Now I will move ahead, it will again see a 1, so it will increment this count 1 to 1, it will become 2, and the maximum value will now become 2 here. Then I will move ahead, here it will see a 0, and because it is a 0, so count 1 has to be reset to 0, because now the streak has not been maintained because of the 0 encountered. And here we can see that whatever the maximum consecutive ones we have encountered so far, that is longest streak till now, it is maintained inside this max count. Now I will move ahead again, and it will see a 1, then it will again increment this to 1, and the maximum value will be updated in max count. I will move ahead, then it will again increment it to 1 more, that will become 2, and the maximum value will be in max count. Now I will move ahead, it will again increment this to 1 more, and now the maximum value will be updated inside this is 3, and then I will move ahead, and this loop will get ended. So we can see here that the max count 1 value is this variable is having a value which is the value max of the maximum number of consecutive ones present in this entire array. So that's what we will return at the end. So simply what we have to do in this is, we will simply traverse in the array, and count the ones. While traversing the array with the help of I, we will count the ones. If found 1, then what we will do this count 1 plus plus, and also update the max count value with the maximum value. Otherwise, obviously, if we are not finding any 1, then that is 0. So reset this count value to 0. This is the simple approach we have to follow. And now let's get to the code part. So I will write the code here. So firstly, I will have the size of this nums inside n. So this n equal to nums dot size. And after having this, I will just keep a counter for the ones for the ongoing streak, and second counter for the number of ones for the longest streak I have maintained so far. And now I will run a loop for int I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus, and inside this particular loop, what I will do, I will check for number of ones. If this nums of I is equal to 1, then in that case I will increment my count for 1, that is count plus plus, and also I will update this max count 1 with maximum value of this count 1 comma max count 1. So whatever is the maximum value which I will be having out of this, that will be saved inside this max count 1. Or else what I will be doing, if just in case if this particular value is not 1, it is 0, then in that case I will reset this particular value to 0, this count 1. And just because whenever the new one will come, that then this count 1 will get incremented after that for the new streak. And at the end, what I will do, whatever the maximum max count 1 value is there, as I have already explained, that will be containing the value, that is the maximum number of consecutive ones. So that will be the value which we will return. Now just run this particular code. So yes, okay, this is 1 here. It is not max count, it is 1. Okay, rest everything is correct. So let's run this. Okay, this is accepted, and let me submit it. Okay, so it got submitted. Now let's see the time complexity of this particular code. So it is the running only one loop, and that is for the n elements, that is visiting every element once. So its time complexity is simple, that is big O of n only. So the time complexity for this code, let me write, that is big O of n, and yes, space complexity, we have not used any of the space, so it's constant only. The point of talking about. Okay, so this is the time complexity for this big O of n, and space complexity is big O of 1, that is constant. So this is all about this code, all about this problem.